Yo, welcome everybody to the State of the Culture panel discussion here at the Throwback Lounge, brought to you by AUD and Westside Apparel. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening in Docklands. Give yourselves a round of applause, everyone who's shown up tonight. Just had an incredible first panel before. We're going to dive into another discussion now with some heavy hitters in the Melbourne and Australian hip-hop scene. Again, for those watching at home, thank you for tuning into our YouTube. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good shit. If you're listening on Spotify or a podcast somewhere, make sure you're rating, reviewing, giving it 5 stars, because my panelists deserve nothing less than that. I want to start by saying that we are blessed and lucky and fortunate to be here in Melbourne on Wurundjeri land. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, emerging. Pay respects to any First Nations people in the building right now. Note that sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. All struggles of the people on this land go back to the struggle for Indigenous sovereignty, and that's what we recognise. That's what AUD is about, and that's what we're here to have a discussion about culture. On that note, I want to acknowledge that we are guests in hip-hop culture as Australians, as people from this side of the world. Pay respects and acknowledgement to everyone who's forebeared and carried the burden for this culture and helped build it over in the United States, particularly African American people, and I state that Black Lives Matter always matter. All right, on that note, welcome to the conversation, my man. Great to have you all here. We've got Ben Madden, we've got Omar Patel, we've got William Gon, and we've got Moe Khalifa. Quick round of applause for my panelists. Moe, from Picked Last, director over there, manager, artist, label manager, all those things. I want to start with you, bro. The Australian hip-hop scene is popping right now. What's got you excited?
What's got me excited? A lot of things have got me excited. I think when I first started getting into this, in 2017, 18, it's grown so much more, especially for hip-hop and it being able to be so diverse and allowing so many types of genres to exist and do well. Because when I was first came into it, it was just mostly neo soul and boom bappy type of stuff, trap music and all that kind of stuff was kind of frowned upon. And seeing that being accepted now and it kind of almost being kind of mainstream in this country now is pretty cool. That's definitely got me excited. I think it being more accepting of different genres in this country. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Jump in. Let me intro you first. William Gon, artist manager, originally from Brooklyn. He was the man who bought us Bishop Nehru, and he's out here blessing Australia now, moving amongst the industry here. Your thoughts, my brother?
This reminds me a little bit of the Bronx. In the Bronx, they have these Zulu Nation parties, these Rocksteady anniversary parties, a lot of rival gangs, rival crews, a get together like this. And it'd be appointed you ever seen the movie Warriors? Where they have 5 in a group, and you go meet other crews like-minded like yourselves and just hash out ideas and be creative and build from there. This reminds me of that, so it's important that you guys support things like this because it starts from right here. And please, before you leave out of here, make sure you network with everyone here at least.
Absolutely. Ben Madden, one of the country's leading, not only journalists, but music journalists, and has been for an extended period of time. As someone who's been writing and commentating and contributing to this culture for a minute, what's got you excited and what are some of the recent changes you've seen?
I think more people than ever are interested in Australian hip-hop. Yeah. I remember when I started listening to it and listening to the Hilltop Hoods and Pez and all those kind of names from a decade ago, people still wouldn't really know what you were talking about. Now, I'll go to work or whatever and say, listen to Lissy, listening to HP Boys. People that aren't dedicated to Australian hip-hop know who those names are listening to them, are engaging with me, talking about their new releases. So I think that's really exciting that more than ever the recognition is there, and I think from there that's where the scene can grow, is bringing these people into the fold and then introducing them to new artists.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. On that note, Omar, as well, we've obviously got the Westside weekend happening here. You've got an incredible bunch of live acts happening tomorrow. Someone like Babyface Mel or Sophie Grovey headlining an event, that's a pretty significant change and shift in culture here. How does that feel to be able to put that on in 2022 and showcase these incredible communities?
I think it's amazing. It's unreal how the scene's just grown all of a sudden. I remember starting the brand in 2017 and it was we used to just hear American artists coming out and you'd get these Aussie artists rapping in an American accent and all of a sudden it's just this shift that's happened and you got Aussie artists coming out of nowhere, all these young kids pulling up, J-Verse has just come out of the woods all of a sudden,
17 years old.
17 years old, just rapping to these. Obviously, you've seen the Shaq video recently as well. Just unreal. It's unreal to see. It's unreal to see the growth, and it's just going to be amazing to see what's going to happen in the next, 5-10 years.
That's how it should be, though. That's how it is.
Facts.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it is. That's the energy. Like, you gotta feel you number one, and you gotta let everybody know you number one.
Yeah.
It's a little humble here. I get that, but like back in the States, everybody's like, I'm the best. Everybody says that. And you gotta reinforce that, and you gotta let people know, like, I'm here, see me. So shout out to Jay Verse, shout out to Teamwork and Luke and the whole team at Lucky. They're killing it.
Yeah. Yeah, Will, I want to follow up with you with that. From someone from the outside looking in who's come from New York, come from a mecca of hip-hop, now touched out, made his roots here in Australia, and is seeing this culture grow. We're gonna shout out to all the artists in the building right now. This is dope to see. From the outside looking in and now being a part of it, what are some of those initial impressions, and where do you think it goes from here?
Well, I think it's pretty cool right now. I think there's a definite resurgence right now, and there's a definite energy now that I've never felt. And I've been here 9 years, and I'm feeling like this buzz like last 2 years maybe in the scene. And it's kind of exciting, and I'm seeing more artists, more styles, more crews, more designers, more producers, like people coming out like, I'm here, like I'm an artist, like, and it's cool to see. And I've seen this a lot in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Harlem, in Chicago, in London, in UK. Like, you kind of get in tune with that frequency of what's about to pop. And I think it's Melbourne's turn.
Yeah. What's that? Moe, I want to throw to you on that, bro, because we've seen a resurgence or almost a renaissance in Australian hip hop in the last few years. We're still in the infancy, and we're still the early days. And you and I have had these conversations before about how like 2020 in Australian hip hop is probably like 1990 in US hip hop, and then we're on the precipice of achieving mainstream attention, all those sort of things. As someone who's moving as a manager, as a label manager, what are the things that you're looking out for in terms of where we are in the point in time and where it heads next?
So I feel like with us in Australia specifically, I think we're in a weird spot. I think it's like we're at the best we've ever been, I think, in terms of hip hop. I think in terms of diversity, I think we're at the best it's ever been. But I also think there's a bit of damage being done with just certain genre, like for example, drill kind of being the main focus of everything right now, right? I feel it's real good to see like the Australian community finally like understanding, like seeing, oh, there's music in Australia, like he was saying before. If you were into the hip hop in Australia, you knew, but like if you were just a random guy, you wouldn't know there was even artists here, doing that kind of stuff. I think for Australia, it's going to be hard because obviously, our country, we have 24 million people here. There's more in certain places in America, So for it to be like big here, it's going to take a lot. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to follow on from that to you, Omar. Like, we're talking about hip-hop culture, which is obviously not just rap. It's not just music. There's 5 elements of hip-hop. And I definitely want to touch on the contribution that fashion is making to hip-hop as well. And I'd love to hear you speak on that because we're seeing that boom in the last few years as well. Westside Apparel, shout out the guys from JUJO. Like, there's a lot of independent creators. And I think hip-hop creatives aren't just rappers or aren't just producers. Like, I'd love to hear you speak on that to an extent, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important. It's so important. Fashion in terms of hip hop, like these days you've got streetwear brands across Australia. Anything that you wear can represent who you are. So anything you wear represents who you are as a person, what you do, as well as I feel like fashion brands, obviously like Westside, we can reach limits where we're pushing artists as well. Yeah. Getting these artists out there, obviously in precincts like this, I think it's very important to make sure that we incorporate these artists and get them out there through these types of communities, because sometimes we don't get the chance to, obviously, like these artists obviously sometimes wouldn't get the chance to do something like this online. So it's a good way to put something like this on and incorporate fashion and artists in something like this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
One thing you guys got to remember is like hip hop started in the Bronx, right? And hip hop was about community first, and it was about family and DJing and breakdancing and culture. It started with like poor kids that had nothing, just imagination. So as long as you you curate the culture and you love what you do, it's gonna thrive. within each other. And I think Melbourne's in a real exciting place, like for real. Everyone feels it. I know it. Like you guys know that, right? Like it's something different in the air, right? Like, cause you're next. That's why.
Yeah. Shout out, Doc. Give a round of applause for that. Yeah, Ben, I'd love to hear you speak on the intersection of, I guess, the different communities and or different institutions and how they all play a role.
I think for me, coming from a writing background, first and foremost, I think, like, I'm always going to celebrate the power media has. I mean, I think that's definitely evolved. When I started writing, blogs and things like that were more powerful. Now it's video, short form, more independent creators on like TikTok, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. But I think it all kind of comes together, like, and then I think on a smaller level, like if you show someone your favorite artist, that's one-to-one connection. That's what it's all about. Like, that's what I've tried to do in my writing. Like, if that comes across, that's a whole other discussion. But we're all doing it for the same reason. We all want to show people our favorite artists, and I think that's what, I guess, the foundation of community is. We're all just trying to bring each other up. Yeah, well said. Yeah, of course, brother.
All right, to your point, to bring each other up, for Melbourne to excel, this is important. And I'm not seeing enough of it, so please listen to what I'm saying. You should share each other, like each other, comment on each other's music and projects. Everybody has their own crew and everybody wants to be standoffish, right, and do their own thing. That's cool. There's lanes enough for everybody. I'm sharing every and anything that I feel is fire because I can. I have my own brand. It's not confusing to the brand. I'm a tastemaker. I'm an influencer, so I'm letting people know, like, the love is free. It means a lot to share each other's art. In New York, I don't know if you guys know about, like, the Rough Riders, Wu-Tang, Murder Inc. tour. It's many times like crews clicked up together, got a bag, and then did their own thing. Just keep that in mind. It's all right to share my project. I'll share your project. Let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah, really well said. On that note, one of the things I've often liked to say is that, like, everyone wants a bigger piece of the pie, but how about we just grow the pie so everyone can eat? Like, I think that's what we want to be looking at right now, and absolutely that's on that point. Mel, we want to throw to you as well, bro. Like, you sort of alluded to some of the challenges that you face in the scene right now, maybe with one subgenre dominating on that. As an artist manager, as a label manager, you got some of your artists in the room, shout out. What are some of the challenges you face every day and some of the biggest hurdles that you have to overcome in this space?
I wouldn't, it's a challenge in itself, but like, I believe in what we're trying to do and the sound that we're going for. And I think if you're different to what the mainstream is, I think that's the most important thing, and continuing to push what you believe is right for you, right? So, and not folding to whatever is popping and whatever is mainstream in this moment. And like, there's nothing wrong with drill or whatever, that's not what I'm trying to say, but I think the main thing is staying true to our sound and continuing to develop that, because that's what we identify with and that's what, you know, who we are. And at a certain point, it's gonna resonate with people because it's real. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I like what you alluded to then. I like a lot of the discussion around Melbourne. I want to keep it Melbourne focused for a second. I want to zoom in and hone in on the 3K. Omar, what makes Melbourne different, bro? Why is it different here? Why is the energy different here?
We gotta answer that first. Oh.
Hit it. Because this video is going out around the country, so.
Melbourne's just different. I feel like there's many things I could say about Melbourne, that we're so diverse. Our fashion is a whole nother level, completely different to what other states can produce or have produced. I feel that's just me speaking on the real. In terms of what else? What do you mean? What else do you mean in terms of what?
What's unique about Melbourne?
What's unique?
Yeah. Why is
the people.
Yeah.
I feel like we have so many different types of communities doing different things everywhere. Once we pull all those communities together and get this cracking where we're all together as one and we're all supporting each other, it's game over from there. And I feel like we're heading towards that point in the next few years.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. Do you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, to build on that point, I think it's always felt to me like there's a lot of subcultures in Melbourne that are kind of doing their own thing. But I think over the last couple of years, we've kind of seen those crews link up, kind of artists come together. I think the internet has a big part to play in that. And I think that was really shown through the pandemic. Artists weren't afraid, writers weren't afraid, media wasn't afraid to get together and collaborate. And I think if we can keep that energy up, like Melbourne will shine even more, not just on a national level, because I think Melbourne really does shine in Australia, but on a global level as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, I want to throw to you this. What does Melbourne need to do to become a global player in hip-hop? Grab that one as well.
Identity is one thing. Being individual is another thing.
Yeah.
Being yourself is cool. Being authentic is cool. When I heard somebody's project, yours, it was authentic to you. That's what made it special for me to listen to. So just be yourself. We heard everything under the sun. It's just authentic to be you. That's cool as. There's a lot of things missing in the infrastructure of Melbourne and the music scene here. There's no big DJ coalitions. There's no national college radio coalitions. There's no college charting nationally, regionally. There's a lot of things missing here, but there's a lot of things that can happen and grow here. Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah.
I feel like touching base on that as well. When you said we're all different, doing our own things, everyone's being true to themselves. I feel like that's why everyone's so separated. Because in a way, everyone's staying true to what they do and themselves. Once we pull all that together, it's gonna move different.
You see, like out of Chicago, they got Chief Keef, and then Lupe Fiasco, and then Common, and then Kanye. They all come together though, under the same, right? And then go back into the same thing in New York. Once Melbourne gets that, your drill rappers are gonna mess with the conscious rappers. You find that common factor and rally.
Yeah.
And then the unity will come. That's what hip hop's all about. Hip hop was created for unity, and that's the core message in hip hop.
Yeah, facts. Moe, I want to throw to you on that as well, bro, because one of the words I heard getting thrown around there a lot was authenticity. And one of the things that I associate with Pick Last, every Pick Last record I hear, every event I go to, is authenticity. You guys are unique. You're creating your own lane. What's the importance in that, and what's your approach to it?
Before I answer that, I just want to go back on the Melbourne thing real quick, just before I answer that. I think what separates Melbourne from the rest of the country, from my experience, I'm not even from Melbourne. I moved here in 2016. I grew up in Canberra and Sydney, so I saw both. And I'll say one thing about Melbourne, that I love. That it's just, how do I explain this? Everyone here's got their own identity. Like everyone's like, they dress better here. The music's more real. I'm gonna be straight up. The music's more real.
Keep it 100. Tell your shit.
You know, it's just it's better. It's not as I don't know, like as sheepy as I've seen Sydney to be and whatever, you know. But what was the question you asked me again?
About authenticity.
Authenticity. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's not something that like we purposely try to do. It's just how we are, you know. We see ourselves as tastemakers. We see we see people trying too much to do, like I said before about the drill thing, trying too much to fit into the mainstream, and not enough people just trying to do what they want to do and believing in what they want to do. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people maybe they believe themselves, they haven't seen enough people do it, but that's what we're trying to be. We're trying to set that as the standard and let people look like, these guys did it, I can do it. You know what I mean? Because me coming up, there was like Barrow, who I looked up to a lot, in a sense of like, this guy was him to the bone, and he got him to places. He was on Mac Miller's album and all of that. So that to me is something that I looked up to. I'm like, I bet we can do that. Even though we're in Australia and maybe like our sound doesn't fit this place so much, we can still do it as long as we stick to what we believe in. You know?
Yeah, round of applause for that. When you heard your greatest, your favorite hip hop album, what did you get? Like you heard like something in there, like let's say like Bone Thugs and Harmony, right? Or like NWA, or like I don't know, pick a group, Outkast. It was something that was different, and they made it their own. And you have to be all right and comfortable with just being yourself. That is so important. It's not. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of trends out here, and every year, like, an artist will switch his style every couple of songs. That's cool. He should have done that in the demo phase to find out his sound. If you're gonna drop those kind of songs, you kind of lose your identity a bit. So just stick to the core. You don't have to worry about what's popular. Just master your own craft, pretty much. Master what you're good at. Because no one's better than you at being you. You know what I mean? So just be you.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I want to touch a little bit on challenges and frustrations, Ben. I want to throw to you as someone, to be honest, who's just recently left the music scene, who's been writing, predominantly for an extended period of time and has now dipped out and dipped away from it. What are some of the challenges or frustrations or hurdles that artists or writers or creators are facing right now that we'd like to see change?
I think it's easy to butt heads with people that probably don't have the same vision as you or don't have a long-term vision for what's going on. And I think, you're going to find people everywhere that want in on Australian hip-hop for the wrong reasons. I think when the pie is smaller, people can be kind of forced into different lanes because they want a bit of that pie, and as it grows, authenticity can come even more from there. But just speaking personally, I think you see a lot of people who are genuine, some that aren't, and it's not always the people who are genuine that rise to the top. And I think unfortunately that's just a reality. And I loved writing about music. I still love writing about music. I'm still doing it. I've just taken a little bit of a step away. And I think that also there's this fear in music that if you step away from a little bit, you can become irrelevant. If you're taking time to kind of learn who you are again, kind of trying to harness your project or hone your sound. Because of social media, because we're always kind of on the internet, you can get lost a little bit. And I did worry about that, and I still worry about that. And it's only been a little bit of a break for me, but I think that's something we can't be afraid of. And I think Australian artists will learn a lot about themselves if they take a step away. And I think it's something that I've enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to writing about music again in the near future.
Yeah, dope. Yeah, give another round of applause for that. Let's do it. One thing Ben touched on there was longevity, and I want to talk to you about that, Omar, in terms of building a brand, and whether it's a clothing brand, whether it's a media brand, whether it's an artist brand, whether it's a label. Like, we're all focused on longevity here, and that's the conversation. What are some of the approaches you've had to take or things you've had to learn to build a brand with a focus on being around for an extended period of time? Need that other one.
I think the first thing I'd say would definitely be, as we touched on earlier, just stay true to yourself. Straight up, stay true to yourself. Obviously, Westside Apparel obviously started in 2017, just from an idea of me growing up in the West, loving West Coast hip-hop music, listening to Death Row, NWA, all the rest of it, but staying true to myself and where I grew up, how I grew up. And yeah, just I feel like staying true to yourself, being yourself, and in terms of the brand and longevity, I think just not going out of your comfort zone, but not going too out of your comfort zone where you're doing things that aren't yourself, like releasing products that have nothing to do with the brand, or releasing things to follow other brands, or trying to follow other trends. Or it's good to be able to jump on something that's different and do different things, but as long as you're staying true to yourself, I think is definitely important, 100%.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, Will, I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well. As someone who's been around a while and seen artists rise and fall quickly, and then seen others stay around for an extended period of time. What's your approach to longevity?
Again, finding your sound, in the demo phase, recording, not being in a rush, quality over quantity, like just finding your sound and just experimenting in the beginning, and then dropping what you're good at. Like, you confuse your audience doing a little bit too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's some artists that are like purists and just stick to what they're great at. That's great. Look at Joey Badass. Like, look at the longevity of these guys. Like, even ASAP. Like, look what he's good at. He sticks to it. Just stick to what you're good at. That's all. Once you start going on other tracks because you can do it or you're diverse enough, you kind of lose a bit of your audience, thinking you're gonna gain a new audience. When they go back and look at your catalog, that's not what you got. So just stick to what you're good at. Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd love to get Moe's thoughts on that as well.
Is this on the longevity?
Yeah.
It's simple. If you come up quick, you're gonna lose it just as quick as you came up. I'm a big believer in that. Like, obviously, not everyone that's come up quick has gone. There's a few artists that you can say, yeah, they had a quick come up and they've done their thing. But I think, like he said, like just working on your craft and like sticking to what you believe and having an idea of how you want your shit to sound like, how you want your brand to look like, how you want, like, just having an idea of your whole, your world, in a sense, the thing that you're trying to portray. I think that's very important. I think the artists that stay around, they've thought about their music, their everything for so long, you know, and then once they've had the opportunity to do it, they've done it, like they've executed, because they know what they want, they know what they're gonna do. You know, a lot of people, they make music to just make music and just for fun, and that's fine also, you know, fun music is cool, but yeah, you're not gonna stay relevant for long if you're doing all this gimmicky stuff, and yeah, that's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I definitely want to open it up to audience questions in a second, but I want to ask one more to everyone on the panel, a bit of an individual question. If you could give a bit of advice to your younger self who is just entering into this space, whether it's as a writer, as a fashion designer, as a manager, as a label head, whatever it is, what advice would that be? And for people watching at home who are maybe starting to get into this craft or thinking about it, what advice would you give to your younger self across that sort of line that you fit into? Might start with you, Ben, and then pass it all the way around.
It's a good one I think about a little bit, but I think when I was starting out, I was a lot more sure of myself than I probably should be. I was pretty set on my opinions, and it's only in the last probably 2 or 3 years that I've kind of learned to listen to everyone. Everyone's got their own viewpoints. Everyone's got something to offer you. So yeah, just listen to everyone. Look, not everyone's going to be right about everything. If they were, then it'd be impossible. Yeah. But yeah, just listen to everyone that you can and soak in all the knowledge of those around you, because that's ultimately what's going to help you grow.
Cool.
Yeah, facts. I think that's a good one. Definitely, we're always students. I feel like we're always learning. I'm always learning anyway. You know, having a clothing brand, you always end up learning something new. You come across something that you're learning about the scene. You come across something you're learning about clothing, garments. Where you always got to be a student in obviously running a brand, and even in life in general. If you think you know it all, you're just not going to get anywhere. To be honest, you're always learning. And the main question was
about that. Just
about that.
Advice to your younger self. Yeah.
I feel like if the younger self thing for me would be, don't look at anybody else.
Yeah.
Don't look at what. It's good to take inspiration from, you know, other places, but don't look at anybody else in the way where, I want to do what he's doing.
Yeah, it's good.
I feel like that's definitely an important one, just because that's something I definitely did when I was younger. I was always looking at, you know, other brands that were, say, 20 years old, 15 years old, and being like, I should do that. But it's important to just stick to what you know, stay true to yourself, like we've been mentioning, and just definitely follow, you know, what you want to do and go to your path. I feel like that's a big one.
Yeah, it's dope. Will?
I got my first internship at 17 years old for Madonna's record label. It was called Maverick Mute Records, right? And from there, I went to work for Palace Universal Records with Fat Five Freddy, and we was under Universal. So I did that for like 2-3 years. The point of that is, like, in these little departments that I was in, you have to remain a student, because you're always picking up a skill whether you know it or not, and you have to just be a sponge and absorb. So you could go from one department, from college radio to marketing to publishing to licensing, and it's all there for you. You just have to constantly upskill. You could go to Berkeley online, you could register, you can get a certificate in master's in music business. You could constantly learn. One of the main lessons that I've learned myself in the music business is to learn the music business. It's music business. Learn it. Hardcore, learn it. Read books, just learn it. Become a nerd. Another thing too is be careful of the buddy system in business. Don't confuse the two. Like playing pretend manager, playing pretend artist. What are you really doing? Is this for real? Okay. Paperwork it. That's not your artist until it's your artist. Yeah. It's not business until it's business.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
For me, when my younger self, I was pretty young and in some pretty hectic spaces when I was like, and I had no idea. I was freestyling a lot. I was freestyling for ages, but I learned a lot freestyling, you know? I didn't really have someone to look to and be like, yo, what do I do here? What do I do here and stuff? I think if I had to say one thing to myself when I was young, I'd maybe take it a bit more serious. I just had a bit too much fun when I was younger, but I don't know. I don't like regret much, because I think I learned so much from every situation, whatever happened, you know, whether it was good or bad. I just felt like it was always a learning experience, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah, dope. Cool. Yeah, keen to throw it up to the audience now. If there's any questions sitting out there, we've got an incredible amount of knowledge and wisdom sitting on this panel. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm going to throw that to Ben.
Wow. It is a good question. I'd like to think that I'm not too bad at asking questions. I've done it with Australian artists, international artists, and I think it's just all about being genuinely inquisitive. If you care about someone's backstory, then you will understand their art and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I mean, you should be always asking questions of those around you, people that you do know, people you don't know. I mean, Matt is someone that also does a lot of interviews. You spoke to a lot of different people. I guess this is a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
How do you go about learning about someone's story so that when you're asking them questions, you're not just regurgitating what they've already said? How are you building on the narrative? Because I think that's what we're all trying to do, right? I mean, a night like this, trying to build on the narrative of hip-hop, kind of Australian hip-hop, kind of unpack it, kind of chat about it with everyone. As someone that does do that in a media space, but then also on a night like tonight, how are you kind of going about asking the right questions?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your question. I think, honestly, it comes from being genuinely interested. Like, I fucking love this culture. I'm passionate about it. And I think that cream rises to the top for anyone. I think if you do something good enough for long enough, you're going to succeed, no matter what that is. If it's sport, if it's music, if it's art, if it's fashion. If you study the craft and you do it at a good enough level and you put in the time, you put in your 10,000 hours, I think you can get reward for effort in the long term. And that's my view to sort of everything I approach. And so you ask about how do you take interest in an interview with an artist or something like that rather than regurgitating. The short question is I give a fuck, and like I feel really privileged that someone like Killer Michael spend 20 minutes out of their day exclusively with me. So I'm gonna respect that time. I'm gonna respect that opportunity, and I'm gonna give it everything I've got because I also want to learn. I'm a student of this game. I think a few people have spoken about being students all the time. I think that's really important. And when I was a kid, to be honest, one of the best lessons I ever got from my dad was that if you get a platform and an opportunity to say something, make sure it makes a difference. And so I feel really privileged to have a platform, a following, an opportunity to talk to people, and I want to see that impact last long term. So, yeah. 100%. Any other questions? Yeah, just to rehash that question for anyone who didn't hear it, is how do you determine, what do you look for when an artist or someone you want to collaborate with is worth that time and effort? Because next to money, the most important thing we got is time. Only got 24 hours in a day. How do you prioritize that and what do you look for?
That's magical. You believe in love? Love at first sight? You believe in love? Yeah. You got a wife? You got a girl? Yeah. You know that feeling? You just know? It's that. You got to trust your instincts. Trust your instincts, no one else's instincts, and pull the trigger and go all in. But make sure your paperwork is right. Don't invest too much and protect yourself. Protect yourself on the paper side. Yeah, before you invest. Yeah. That's important.
I like him. We talk about that. Like, what do you look for in artists, bro? You're someone who's signed artists.
What do I look for? Well, at the point that I'm at right now, I look at, like, if I was to work with an artist, it'd have to be something that, like, with music that I understand, that I'll be able to push and that I can, believe in. I think the artist themselves also has to show some sort of potential, and I want to, show some sort of dedication that, this is something I'm willing to die for. I'm gonna breathe this. Because you don't want to work with someone that you're telling them, oh, go to the studio, go do this, go do that. They have to have that in themselves. Some people I feel like their manager is like their dad in a sense. It's like, they should be telling them what to do, but it's not like that. They have to have that one inside them more than anything. But yeah, obviously the quality of the music, but that's all a matter of opinion. And like he said, it's instinct. You have to trust your gut feeling when you hear that guy's music. You're like, yeah, this is dope. This is fire, and you believe in it. And it's hard to say. Like he said, it's like love, bro. It's hard to explain it. You just got that feeling. Yeah, that's how I say it.
You got to make sure you're not working harder than the artist. They got to put in the same effort you're putting in. Yeah, I dropped acts before for not keeping up. I'm from a fast-paced place. Everything's aggressive and quick. You got to move with me. Everything is fourth quarter. We making that run or not? What do you want to do? So once you decide your pace, get your team and get him on the same page. But be in sync. You don't want to be moving too fast. He's slow. He's moving too. It's communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
I think that's big one. I come from a brand background. I think it's important to just put everything on the table. Make sure that communication thing is huge. Definitely put everything on the table from the start. Get it all out there. When you're speaking to your producer or your artist or whatever it is, get it all out there from the start so they're very aware of exactly what type of relationship they're going into or you're going into and the pace you're going at. Definitely an important one.
I didn't really have anything to say. I think it's just about being upfront and genuine, like the boys have said. You can kind of feel when someone's being a bit ingenuine or when their heart isn't in it. You can kind of teach finer details, a technical thing. You can't teach anyone passion. You can't make someone find a passion that doesn't exist.
Beautiful. We've probably got space for one more question now. That's an awesome question. I think that on that note, we'll probably finish on that question. I'll pass it around the group as well. I'll start with MEECHY. Imposter syndrome, how do you overcome it? And I will start with Ben. Imposter syndrome, how do you overcome that and what are the steps to doing so?
If anyone has the answer, I'd love to talk to you after this. I think it's just a thing that a lot of people deal with, myself included, but you kind of have to return to the basics. Like you're in a position because you're good at what you do or people think you're good at what you do. Don't let the doubts creep in and overwhelm you because otherwise your skills will evaporate. I think it's just talking to the people around you, they'll back you in. And if you're feeling that imposter syndrome that deeply, take a step away, kind of think about why you got into things in the first place, whether that is producing, making music, writing, whatever it may be, fashion. You got into it for a reason. You're at the position you are for a reason. Return to, I guess, the basics and then build from there again.
Yeah, I think I'll just touch on that. That's definitely important. I think just to be real, we all deal with adversity. We all deal with going through things.
Yep.
We're all human. We all go through it. So I think it's important to just go back to your roots, go back to why you started, where you're going with it, the longevity with it, and just going back to your roots and why and the reason why you started.
Yeah, I'm going to tap onto that as well and say that, everyone suffers imposter syndrome. So I think that builds empathy when you realize that everyone's sort of freaking out to an extent. We're all making it up as we go along. And to be honest, I haven't really had serious imposter syndrome since Donald Trump became president. Because if that guy can fake his way to the top, we can all fake our way to fucking anything. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. There is no blueprint for this thing we call life or this simulation. So we're just making it up as we go along. And I think that's scary, but there's also peace in that as well. That your future isn't written, your destiny isn't written. You get to make it up as you go along, and I think that's really empowering. So,
Wow, that's a good question, by the way. You gotta love what you do wholeheartedly, to the core, that no one can tell you anything otherwise. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta have fight in you. Fight. In anything you do, you gotta have fight. Don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in and what you're doing. And surround yourself with people that's like-minded, that believe in you. Because we all dealing with negativity. Oh, you can't do this. You're not tall enough. You're too skinny. You're too short. All of these things. Dial back, scale back, and just focus on you again and get right back in the fight. That's all I really can say. It's all about the fight for me. It's all about going forward and just being strong in love. If you love what you do, how can you go wrong? Off love? Really? Off love? You gonna win, right? That's it.
Good? Cool. Can we have a round of applause for our panelists, please? I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I appreciate you taking your time. To our panelists, to Ben, to Omar, to Will, to MEECHY, to give up your time to share your knowledge, your wisdom and experience is really humbling, and I'm really grateful for you jump on board on this. To everyone in the room tonight, I'm fucking proud of this city. Yeah, I can see where Melbourne's headed. I can see the unity in this room. I can see the hard work and the challenges that we're going through, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. And I'm really excited for what the future holds. So please, after this, make sure you network, make sure you follow each other on social media and support each other, because the only way we win is we win together. So I want to say thank you as well to Westside Apparel, to all the sponsors, to Mel, to MCL Events, to Throwback Lounge. It's really humbling to be here. U2U Productions on the film and edit, Marshall Street Studios, AUD. We're just blessed to be a part of this culture and to be building together, and I'm excited for what the future holds. Everyone watching at home, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and all that bullshit, because we got to the top.
I just want to jump on here. Matt, I don't think anyone gives you enough credit for what you do for this city, bro. Straight up. I just, in front of everyone here, I just want to give you a roses, bro. Tell you that I love you. We appreciate what you do for this city, bro. Pushing the limits like nobody else is. We appreciate you and thank you for everything that you do. Straight up.
Everyone, have a safe and blessed night. Big love.